Alright, I don't know if you can see this or not. Well, yeah, you can. I took a bungee cord here to hold the plenum back because I found that just being here working by myself, it's a bit difficult to work the ratchet and have that thing resting against me, so I bungeed that back up out of the way. Alright, I'm working on all but the last spark plug back here in the corner now. But what I wanted to show you was when I pulled the plenum off, I laid the bolts out in the same manner as which they came out of the top of the plenum there. So you know, you've got two that are longer than the others. I'm basically a backyard mechanic, and I find that if I lay things out the way I take them apart, I can get them back together. Now, what I really wanted to show you was over here, moving to the spark plugs. These are the spark plugs that were removed. You can see the front three plugs still have quite a bit of electrode. They're burning pretty good. But look at these back three plugs. They have basically no electrode left whatsoever. The car was still running great. The car has 196,000 miles on this car now. This is a 99 Hyundai Sonata with the 2.5 liter V6. This leads me to believe that whoever changed the plugs last only changed the front plugs, and they didn't even change the back plugs just because of the amount of wear. These are probably the original spark plugs. So definitely want to change out the plug. Here's what the new iridium plug looks like. I don't know if you can see that. The electrode's very fine on that, but this plug, because it is iridium, it burns a lot hotter. So the car should run even much better on this plug. Okay, I got the last plug put in there. At this point, we're going to remove the old gasket from the plenum here. They call this the plenum or the surge tank, okay? It's part of the intake manifold. So we're going to take that off. Now, when you put the new gasket on, you do not, I repeat, you do not want to put any kind of rubber silicone or anything on this gasket. All right, this is a heat and pressure gasket. So the reason you don't want to put anything on there is you don't want to get any loose stuff sucked down into the engine. Okay, so that'll just basically go right on there like so. And we'll just take the plenum or the surge tank, and we'll just move it back in place, and then we'll reconnect things. Okay, as you can see here, I got the surge tank or the plenum back in place, sitting down there back in place. We can go ahead and put the bolts and the nuts back on here in the front and the three across the back, and then I'll show you what we'll do next. Okay, now what's important, once you get all these three bolts back in place here, you don't want to tighten them up. You just want to get them in there, kind of snug them. Okay, and then you've got a nut here and a nut here, and then your 5 bolts here. All right. Now, when it comes to tightening this down, it's not, well, what's recommended is that you tighten the center, kind of like replacing a wheel on your car, okay? You know, tighten the center, snug these two down, and then the next two, and then the last. So you're going to work yourself from the inside out, all right? And we'll do that. And then on all your sensors over here, don't forget to put this vacuum line back on, okay? And you'll see the wire coming off those front fuel injectors. It's back on its holder there. And then the two, I believe these are vacuum lines. coming to the bottom of the throttle body. These two lines are back on. The fuel line, I'm going to put the fuel line back on here. Okay, and then that sensor that we took loose back here, you want to make sure that that's back on as well. So I'm going to tighten up all these things, all these loose lines, put these cables back on these sensors. Now, one thing I wanted to show you was when these cables go back on the sensor, because you didn't see this when I took it apart, I was showing you the clips. Okay, you saw how that went back on there. This is the little metal clip, and you just want to be careful that you don't drop it down into the engine. All right, I don't know if you can see that, but that clip goes on there. To get them off, you just take a screwdriver and kind of pop them off, but make sure you don't let them fall down in the engine. And to put it back on, it just goes on and pushes in. Okay, and then that sensor just pushes on. And then we'll put this other sensor up on here with its clip. It'll only go one way, so alright. And the clip on it. Again, just be very, very careful not to drop them down into the engine. I'm going to lay the phone down here for a second while I put that one on, because I need two hands. Okay, just to kind of go over this one more time. When you're tightening everything up, you want to tighten here, here, here. Not real tight, just snug, just like putting a wheel back on your car. Okay, then to here, here, back over to here, and back over to here last. Okay, and then go back and just snug them till, you know, got to overdo it. All right, and there's also the 3 bolts back here, one here, one here, one here. The 2 back here are holding a bracket that is supported by that. I believe it's a fuel line or a vacuum line. I'm not exactly positive. Okay, and then make sure you get this sensor plugged back in. We'll kind of go over all those sensors and vacuum lines to make sure that we didn't miss anything. So we'll make sure you get that vacuum line. This connector here, which is for your fuel injectors. These 2 connectors with the clips. Okay. The 2 hoses down here. And then there's that fuel line or vacuum line we were talking about. This is the one that goes over to the bracket that has 2 of the bolts holding it. Okay. And then we're just going to take this air intake system and put it back on. Again, there's a vacuum line here, okay, that'll connect right here to the bottom, and then you got a couple clamps there to tighten up. Alright, as you can see, I have the air intake back on. Just a couple of little things left to do. Put your throttle cable back up in here in its holder. Alright, now I think when I first started the video, I may have said that you needed to take these and take them out. That's not true. Okay, just loosen them up a little bit and everything will just kind of go in place. Sorry about that, folks. But I'm going to pop that back on there. Alright, keep in mind this is your actual throttle cable. So you want to get that in there in the connectors, and if it wants to force over, you can kind of see how it comes out here and loops over, so it shouldn't be wedged up in here. It should be nice, even sweep there, okay? And I'm going to take this and I'm going to put the tie wrap back on there just like it was. Alright, just a little recap. These are the tools that you're going to need for this job. I should have pointed those out to begin with. A couple of pairs of pliers. These self ratchets are pretty nice. A Phillips screwdriver, standard screwdriver, ratchet extension, your socket for your this is a 5/8 by the way, for the spark plugs, 12 millimeter and a 10 millimeter. And that will do the whole job for you right there. Those should be all the tools that you should need. We're going to go in now and we're going to start the car up. Okay, let's start her up and see what we got here. Start her right up. Alright, like you can see here, this vehicle's got 195,748 miles. And I seriously doubt that those back spark plugs that we looked at earlier had ever been replaced. So that's pretty good. Alright. There we are, the engine running just as smooth as a whistle. No shake, no noise, just nice and smooth. The last thing we need to do is put the cover back on it here, okay? And it's just those 4 10mm bolts that hold the cover in place. Alright, and here we are at the end of the job. Everything's back to normal. Engine's running nice and smooth. When you first complete the job, you should allow the engine to sit and idle for about 3 to 5 minutes. This is because the computer needs to compensate for the voltage to the volt packs here based on the readings it's getting back on how the engine's performing. The last thing you want to do is start the car up and start revving it up. Don't do that. Allow it to idle 3 to 5 minutes. Let the oil pressure come up. Let the computer adjust itself. And then the car's good to go. And then you can come out here and rev it all you want. Nice, smooth. Just, you see no shake to the engine. That's a smooth running, well cared for engine, folks. Again, this is a 1999 Hyundai Sonata. This particular car's got the V6 24 valve dual overhead cam engine, 2.5 liter, and this car also has a standard transmission. This is the GLS version. Thank you much. Enjoy, and I hope this helps somebody else down the line.